Okay, we're going to take a broader look at the fintech market and ecosystem now to see how they're evolving. And for that, I'd like to invite to the stage Deloitte Director of Global Risk Advisory FinTech, Kent Mackenzie. Kent, there he is.
You hear me okay?
Yeah. Clicker.
Fantastic, thank you. So yes, my name is Kent Mackenzie. I lead a lot of the effort and work we do around FinTech and RegTech around the world. My background is in risk, technology and data, so I've lived and breathed this in the banking industry. I joined Deloitte 4 years ago and took this challenge on, and it's incredibly exciting. I'm from Scotland. Is anybody from Scotland here? Nobody. Usually I can go anywhere in the world and I'll find a Scotsman somewhere in the audience. So yeah, bear with me and hopefully you can follow the accent. So listen, I wanted to do 3 things this morning, and I'm terrified that I get that horrible sound blasted at me, so I'll try and go through quite quickly. But 3 things I want to cover. So first of all, I'm going to just kind of take a breath and talk about how we've got here and what the backdrop looks like. Why do we find ourselves in this incredibly exciting time with emerging fintechs and regtechs? Secondly, I want to share with you some of the things that we see and some of the things that we're doing with our clients. Clearly there's some sensitivities, but I'll talk at a fairly broad level and share with you some of the cool things that we're doing. And the third thing I want to talk about is just what we are doing as a firm. You know, I know it's very different here with our firm. Here is very, very cutting edge, but in certain parts of the globe we're known very well as auditors and accountants, but we're not so well known in this world. So I want to sort of demystify that and tell you about some of the stuff we're doing around the world. So first of all, let's be very clear. Financial services is changing rapidly. There's a number of disruptive technologies that we all know and love, you know, really starting to come to the fore, and the pace of change is, you know, growing quicker than at any time before. We all know this curve, the one that goes like this and shoots up. I call it the Ketchup Curve, and I'll tell you why. Let me put this down first. Ketchup Curve. So we bang the bottle, and we have done with technology for a while, and all of a sudden we see that splurge of ketchup really starting to kick up what we see now emerging. So no doubt the world is changing rapidly. Technology itself as well is absolutely democratized these days. We can pretty much crowdsource whatever we want. We can distribute that use of technology. We can, you know, exchange information and value at the absolute rate of knots. The world of data as well is just growing. I think in the last 2 years we've gathered more data about stuff than we've ever had in a previous lifetime. So the rate of growth of data is growing massively and fueling really what we see around fintech emerging. And financial services has, I guess, over the last number of years been beset with challenges, right? There's often aging and quite often creaking infrastructures that are supporting banks and financial services. I spent a number of years in big banks trying to kind of, you know, muddle through it and understand some of the infrastructure behind it. So I'm very well aware of it. Also regulatory challenge. There is an onset and a continual onset of regulation that, do you know, we all try and get our heads around in the industry, and we spend a lot of time and a lot of money trying to work through how that regulation is impacting the organization. And consumer behaviors are changing. It's been touched on a couple of times today already. As consumers, we want things on demand, in real time, highly bespoke to our services, our service requirements or our needs. And by the way, we want them served up in the right way via chatbot or via an intuitive app. So there's a number of different things that are really challenging financial services now that's really fueling what we all, of course, see around fintech and regtech. Now, what I always like to do is just kind of level set here as well, because, of course, it's a very highly educated audience here, but I am sure if I was to go around the room, there'd be a number of different definitions as to what fintech and RegTech is. So I guess just to sort of level set us, the way that I think about this is quite simply the application of these disruptive technologies into the world of financial services. And similarly with RegTech, how do we use these disruptive technologies to really help us understand and navigate regulation in a far more intuitive and easy way? I often also talk about the siblings of fintech, so asset management tech, as tech, insurance tech, insurtech. So of course, we all hear about them and we're all well aware of them. But quite simply put, I think about how you use these disruptive technologies to adjust or support different parts of the industry. There's a number of things we're starting to see really take hold. I was interested, I forget the gentleman's name who was on the panel, but I was interested around the perspective on a pre-blockchain world and a post-blockchain world. Many of the things that you see up here have been around for a while, but I believe we're only really now starting to see them come to the fore. Artificial intelligence is getting baked into an awful lot of the solutions and services that I see across the finance industry. I've very recently been working with a very large bank looking at how they use artificial intelligence in mortgage lending and complaints management, and building really intuitive chatbots that can both be customer-facing and supporting agents in dealing with highly complex complaints or mortgage requirements, and doing so based on years' worth of knowledge and how they've dealt with those complaints before. And by the way, it's incredibly effective. So AI is really helping us now understand the heartbeat of the consumer, understand the needs of the consumer, understand what external factors might be impacting those needs and requirements at any given time. We're also seeing a lot of AI being deployed across areas like trade surveillance and financial crime. So using bodies of knowledge, external knowledge, internal knowledge, to really identify where the rogue trading may be starting to appear across the book, or potential financial crime issues are alerting. The march of robots and what we call intelligent automation. So we're seeing a lot more now where, yeah, okay, let's automate the highly repeatable and really kind of manual activity, but beyond that, let's start to think about how we make those robots intelligent. We recently did a piece of work with a large global bank looking at the lending process. Now, of course, we automated all the kind of multiple hand-ins and handoffs of that process, but we also started to build artificial intelligence into the decision-making elements. And we brought, the bank in question had an SLA, so a service level agreement of 7 days. We were able to bring that whole decisioning process down to 3 minutes using RPA and intelligent automation. So we see that come to the fore more and more, and particularly across risk. The creation of smart banks and digital concierge services. So in a world of open banking and PSD2 and this kind of wealth of data that's around us, we're seeing an awful lot of banks now really building end-to-end propositions. So not just in things like I want a mortgage, but actually I want to buy a house. So let's build and draw the entire journey together and set up a smart bank that can help you with any element of that journey. A couple of examples in the UK. So Monzo just announced, you'll probably have seen a release on their platform called If That Then This. And the idea behind that is, if you want to, if something happens in your life, you can invoke an action across your banking platform. So if I fill up my car with £50 worth of fuel, then save another £10 into a saving account. So the idea of smart banks is now it's joining up entire journeys to help really cater for the needs of a changing demographic. I touched on it a couple of times, democratization of data. I think within the next couple of years there will be something ridiculous like 55 billion connected devices around the world. So the ability to draw data from any number of sources is really going to augment what we see in services. We have this, I guess, somewhat of a dichotomy playing out as well, where open banking and PSD2 is essentially opening up data, but of course GDPR is making sure that we deal with it and manage it and work with it in the right way. So we'll continue to see that play into a number of the different solutions and platforms being built. And of course, it would be remiss of me not to talk about blockchain and DLT. Number of use cases in this space. Identity, of course, I'm sure many of you will be aware, is ultimately solvable via the blockchain. It's not been entirely cracked yet, but it is solvable. Smart contracts, the impact that DLT and blockchain has on things like insurance. I'm also working with a number of energy companies on how to use the blockchain to essentially distribute energy and create a crowd around energy trading. So all of these trends aren't entirely new, but we're really starting to see them now be the splash of ketchup on the plate for many of our clients. And the regulator, so really interesting period now with the regulator. So of course I talked about a couple of things that are really helping and accelerating the growth of RegTech, PSD2, GDPR and the like. We're also seeing RegTechs building a lot of solutions, and there was a really neat company up earlier, the two ladies, and fantastic to see some gender balance as well. It was great to see that company looking at how you use AI and machine learning around the area of regulation. Now the regulators are spending a lot of time thinking about not only how they regulate fintechs, but also some of the points at the bottom there, what the new normal looks like, what the future is going to look like. We're going to be, probably 3 to 5 years' time, the boundaries of banking and financial services are going to be completely non-existent anymore. And we'll find actually that, do you know, we have different people dealing with different stages of the supply chain in financial services that we perhaps haven't seen before. And that leads to, I guess, a kind of broader existential question about what the banking industry looks like in 10 years. Does the bank still own and hold the ledger? Does the bank own the consumer relationship? Or do we actually see that entire supply chain being disaggregated and broken up? So lots of big questions that the regulators are grappling with at the moment and working through. What are the opportunities? So of course, reduction of cost, really improving, really creating these really bespoke consumer journeys. We're working with a number of clients at the moment as well that are looking at how you create new revenue streams, so you play a broader role across the ecosystem and marketplace. And reg compliance, again, I don't think we're terribly far away from RegTech allowing us via the touch of a button to demonstrate to the regulator that we're compliant with the regulation that's published in hundreds of pages of PDF. Lots of exciting opportunities for both FinTech and RegTech to really grow and scale. I'm going to skip past the challenges because I'm very conscious of this time ticking down in front of me, and I do not want that horrible noise. So listen, some of the challenges, I guess it's a busy old world out there, separating some of the signal from noise, understanding how you integrate your solutions into big banks. Tim had that fantastic slide up before that talked about here are the 4 steps that you go through to work with a bank. So spend time thinking about that because I absolutely concur with everything he talked about. Salami Ismail, so the founder of Singularity University, pretty wise guy. So really think long and hard about, inwardly facing and thinking about how you disrupt yourself. I want to talk really quickly about this. So what are we doing? So we position our FinTech business around 4 key areas. So we help our clients understand. That includes things like immersion programs and taking the C-suite through what does all this stuff mean and how is it going to affect us. Imagine and build are kind of my 2 favorite stages. So we spend a lot of time in our labs with our clients, really pushing their thinking on where to deploy some of these technologies, and then take them into really neat and quick build activities. And then we also put teams in place that help run FinTech and FinTech innovation. And these are just some of the things we're doing. So we've built ecosystems in the world. We've built voice analytics solutions that use artificial intelligence to analyze sentiment, tone, and behavioral aspects of voice. We've built the piece I talked about before, automating the entire credit risk journey. And we've also built a crowdsourcing platform that allows us to crowdsource insight from 70,000 consumers in real time. These 2 chaps are my favorite. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kent.